Hello, welcome back, everybody. How are y'all doing? It appears we are a little bit late. We are catching the final set of matches between Unsorted Pixelmon and Pokeslam.
Hey, sorry for the late stream, folks. I do hope the stream is actually going. It's just a black screen in my end. That's very assuring. Um, oh, yeah, I'm having. Oh, I have too many things running. Close all that down. It hasn't started yet, so.
About that.
Oh, great. Oh, and Steam is updating something as well. Oh, I'm sure that's doing wonders for the stream.
Yeah, I don't mind checking that out real quick as soon as it actually shows up on the World Cup bot.
Right, should be up, should be fine now. Nothing else is running in the background. Sorry about the late stream, folks. We have missed the first two matches. I do believe it's 1-1 both sides, but I'm not entirely sure it matters because I think that victory Unsorted just got was their first victory in the entire World Cup. I would be very surprised if they end up qualifying.
We'll have to see whether or not it actually holds water, as chances are it's a little bit interesting right now for Pokeslam as well. They're currently on just not quite qualifying. They do have one win under their belt, but that loss might prove to be too much. In comes another. We'll have to see whether or not either of these can get another loss. Uh, Mainly, will Pokeslam have their chances at making it be shut down by Unsorted? Things might be going a little south potentially, depending on the options here, as Latios, sorry, has their special attack decreased. Depending on the set, this Latios could just straight up try and Oko Latios here. There we go. In comes Ferrothorn as Latios goes for the Draco. We'll have to see how much damage this oncoming Mystical Fire does.
You know now that Latios can very heavily hurt that Latias. It does stay in. And also, we do know that this Latios is not scarfed, as it has now used Draco Meteor and Mystical Fire. Toxapex comes in, taking the Mystical Fire, not taking much. The special attack is reduced, but it doesn't matter too much, as if this Toxapex is running Scold, it's not running Scold for damage, it's running Scold to get that burn. Which won't really matter either way on the Latios too much, as it is a special attack. Granted, a burn would still, it's not exactly wanted either way. Black Sludge of that Toxapex actually regenning almost all of the damage that was Mystical Fire, despite that being a crit. Sword will come in, cannot be toxic. And depending on what this Venusaur is running, it can very heavily threaten Toxapex here. Is a Mega Venusaur and it does go for Leech Seed, which likely means it's not running the Sleep Powder set.
It certainly could be hard to tell. It can be surprisingly splashable at times. We see all kinds of strange Pokemon all throughout. You weren't quite there for it, but last match we saw options such as Dreadnought and Overquill show up.
Okay. I don't think that's the first Overquill we've had in the tournament, but I'm fairly sure that is the first Dreadnought we've
There we go. Zapdos draining some HP, or actually getting drained of some of its HP, rather. Love to see how much damage either the Hurricane or Heat Wave does. For all we know, it is possible we could be looking at also an HP Ice. It's a bit hard to tell, depends on the set.
Either way, non sorry, my voice is a bit short. Non-stab heat wave and non-stab HP ice will not do. It will do a lot, but it won't do a huge amount to a thick, fat Mega Venusaur. Hurricane would hurt a lot more, but it goes for the discharge, predicting a switch as the Rotom Heat. Oh no, it's not Rotom Heat. I thought it was Rotom Heat because it was red, but they're all red when they're shiny. Rotom Wash comes in. Doesn't take that much from the
Chances
discharge, as
are
the
what
Zapdos
we're
does
looking
U-turn.
at is there we go. Will-O-Wisp comes in.
That will
Ferrothorn
hurt the
has been
Ferrothorn quite
burned.
a bit. It will counteract any Leech Seed regeneration the Ferrothorn wants, as well as sorry. Ferrothorn isn't exactly a high damage Pokemon anyway, even with Power Whip and Gyro Ball, but that burn will really, really prevent it from doing damage even beyond. As it does set spikes as the Mega Venusaur comes back in.
That's
Interesting.
actually a little interesting. Why
Let's
Mega
go for the Earth
Venusaur?
Power. It does actually hurt the Ferrothorn quite a bit. It does hit the Ferrothorn neutrally, and Ferrothorn is usually built physically. Of course, there was that specially built Ferrothorn the other day that single-handedly won that the user who was using it the match due to the multiple special setups we were posing aside. But this does appear to be a physically defensive Ferrothorn, taking a good chunk from that Earth Power. As it does appear the Ferrothorn lays spikes a second time, thinking it's not threatened that much by the Venusaur, when in fact it is. The Latias comes in, cannot Earth Power a Levitator, so it takes no damage. And this Venusaur will be threatened out to a high power psychic type move, likely going to come from that Latias.
That is true, but keep in mind, we've seen some very bold reads here. Just a bit earlier, we saw Zapdos attempting to discharge in the face of a Venusaur. We could be seeing a more read-heavy game, at least from either of these trainers.
It I'm curious as to what set this Latias is running. It's clearly not Mega because it's already had a turn to do something and it hasn't Mega'd. It very well could be a Calm Mind set. It could be a Specs or Scarf set. I've even seen an Assault Vest set on Latias. It can run many things. See exactly what it's running because depending on what it's running, it might not actually be able to threaten. But at the same time, it maybe was just completely set up on it. So
There we go.
see,
Venusaur is
it
immune.
does
As
Mega.
Coco comes out, and Psyshock is able to deal significant damage to the oncoming Tapu Koko.
Coco will still be faster here. And does threaten this Latias with a Dazzling Gleam. That Coco has taken a good chunk of damage for its troubles coming in. It will not be able to do that again. So while it does threaten out here, it has lost a significant amount of longevity.
The question is, it's still it's still a little uncertain here, though. How much would something like Dazzling Gleam even do here? I don't think even with uh,
I
I
think
still don't think it'd be enough.
I think if it's full special attack invest with specs, I think it could probably kill. Um, Certainly brings it into prime. It actually doesn't go for the Dazzling Gleam at all. It goes for the Defog, clearing those two sets of spikes that were set up as the Ferrothorn comes in. Ferrothorn does come in uncontested, which is fairly good because it's slowly running out of health. So taking chip now is not very advantageous. I'm likely expecting the Coco to either U-turn or Volt Switch out, chipping that Ferrothorn some more, and bringing in something that can threaten it properly. Does go for the Volt Switch, as the Ferrothorn is brought even lower. With that burn as well, that Ferrothorn's turns are very heavily limited.
While that's true, I do think sometimes they can run synthesis.
Was for
Iron
the
Valley comes
spikes, the
in
Iron
as
Valiant comes.
Ferrothorn sets up spikes.
Ferrothorn will be threatened out.
I would imagine, even if Gyro Ball does come out here with that burn, this Valiant is actually fairly safe to set up and go for a sweep.
The electric terrain has been set that will allow Iron Valiant to get its speed boost, which likely means it's not running booster energy and it has something else there. Perhaps Specs, Life Orb, maybe a Z Crystal. The Ferrothorn will switch out as Iron Valiant goes for the Sword Stance. Specs will be heavily threatened depending on what this Iron Valiant is using. It could probably one-shot it right here and now. And with that Sword Stance, it is definitely not running Specs or Scarf or Band what it's using just yet. Very possibly
I've seen all kinds of sets. Oh, actually choosing to swap out here.
Interesting. Perhaps it doesn't have Psycho Cut then.
I would imagine I've seen things like Psycho Cut, Shadow Claw, knockoff. This is going to be interesting as I'm not certain if there is anything, at least judging by that reaction to swap.
I mean, surely, even if it won't kill, a +2 knockoff on a Toxapex would do a lot. It would get rid of that item, which would mean that although it's still able to stall, it would have stalled as effectively. And it will. Okay, yeah, the Latias comes out. But also, it would mean that it would take a good chunk. It wouldn't kill it, but it would take a good chunk. I'm very interested as to why you would decide to just switch to. The Venusaur does come in as the Toxapex comes out and bring the Latias in. Venusaur expecting the switch, not going for Earth Power, which is why the Latias came out, expecting Earth Power as the Venusaur goes for Leech Seed. Venusaur will once again be thrown out. And remember, the Coco was what swapped in last time. It can't this time or it will die.
That is true. However, depending on the set, Mega Venusaur can run Sludge Bomb. And if that's the case, this Latias is not
well, the problem is
hot.
that I mean, it really depends on what sets both of these Pokemon are running. But there's definitely a possibility that the Latias is faster. There's a very good chance it could one-shot the Venusaur, as Psychic is Mega Venusaur's biggest weakness, as most flying types struggle to touch it, and at least Stab Hurricane Pokemon struggle to touch it, and Fire and Ice type attacks do less damage than they normally would. Psychic is usually Venusaur's biggest problem. It goes for Psyshock, which, judging by the damage, that likely means this Venusaur is physically invested. Does go for the Sludge Bomb, does over half to the Latias. May, judging by how little damage that Psyshock did, it is very likely this Venusaur is invested into physical bulk. And although some Latiases do run both Psychic and Psyshock, I don't know if this is one of those Latias.
There we go, actually. Am I looking at this right? Psyshock did less than half.
As I said, it has to be physically invested. So Zapdos comes in, taking a Sludge Bomb and taking a good chunk of damage, hoping to come in and scare it out with a Hurricane. If the Hurricane hits. But this Zapdos really doesn't want to take another Sludge Bomb, as it will be taken very, very low. In fact, I'm pretty sure Sludge Bomb, and if it gets poisoned by it, the poison tick damage would actually be enough to kill it here. So, if it does want to stay in for a Hurricane, it needs to be very careful. Mega Venusaur is looking like quite a problem for Beast-like, as many Pokemon are on Beast-like's team are get through it. As the Zapdos will roost, Venusaur going for Sludge Bomb. Roosting in front of a Pokemon that has a high damaging Earth power is always a very risky move as Zapdos, as if they read when you're going to use Roost correctly, they can heavily punish you for it. Going for the Discharge, doing almost nothing. Venusaur does predict that the Roost is going to come out, goes for the Earth power. Both sides here misreading.
I would imagine one Sludge Bomb poison is going to change the game very quickly here. And so it appears this is a very interesting. Oh, there we go.
Landorus comes in. Presumably, the Zapdos is just repeatedly pressing Discharge, hoping to get the paralysis on that Venusaur, knowing that it can't Toxic it. But the Landorus does come in safely, and although Landorus doesn't necessarily threaten a Zapdos with its common set, the thing about Landorus is that it has so many different things it could run. This very well could be a Z Stone Age set, and if it is, that Zapdos needs to get out. But Beast-like won't know what it is until it goes for something. It goes for the knockoff. Getting rid of Zapdos' heavy-duty boots.
I would wager, unless I'm imagining things, that this could be...
Ooh, using knockoff again, very risky, as that very well... every time you use knockoff on a Zapdos, it can proc static. Oh, wait, does static affect ground types? I can't remember. As the Latias does come back in, it goes for the knockoff again. The Landorus is actually faster. This is a Scarfed Landorus, I think.
That's certainly true, and one of the very few ones we've seen. Most oftentimes, the Landorus we've seen is the bulky lead set. This is the first time we've seen Choice Scarf.
Very
one of the few.
Very good choice there, but because of that, I assumed that Beast-like was, assuming that the Latias was going to be 100% faster without any competition and was going to go for the Ice Beam to either threaten out or just kill this Landorus, not expecting it to be scarfed and not expecting to die. Losing that Latias could be a big problem, as Latias was a heavy damage dealer in the neutral. As the Iron Valiant does come in, its booster energy giving it a speed boost. It will be faster than this Landorus now, but can it actually threaten the Landorus? Knockoff won't be too useful here, as the booster energy is used and gone.
Something I suspect that could happen, if somehow Tapu Koko comes back out, you could attempt to match a speed tie using your own booster Valiant.
The Venusaur comes back in, very risky. Depending on what this Valiant is running, that Venusaur may well just be dead. Even if it is physically invested, this Iron Valiant just Swords Danced. So, if the Iron Valiant does have Psycho Cut, this Venusaur is dead. Goes for the
Close
close
combat
combat.
comes
It's
out the crit.
it's that probably wouldn't have killed, but the crit has made all the difference there. As the Coco comes back, setting Eterrain and hoping to get a speed tie going with their own. Goes for the close combat. Does kill the Coco.
This might come down to a speed tie.
Also, this Iron Valiant has now used close combat twice. Both Pokemon have resisted close combat, and the Psycho Cut would have been a better choice. If it's not running Psycho Cut or Spirit Break, or Shadow Claw for that matter, I have no idea what this Iron Valiant is running. It may not be able to break through. It goes for the close combat. It doesn't have a super effective move, as the other Iron Valiant goes for the Z. That's either a Z, probably a Z Gunk Shot, I would expect, or Poison Jab. That will be enough to kill the opposing Iron Valiant. Speed tie, be damned. I don't know if that would be enough. I'm not sure if the Z move was worth it there. That Iron Valiant had -3 defense. I think that Poison Jab would have killed, or unless it was a Gunk Shot and they wanted to bypass the accuracy check, maybe.
That could be an option.
As the Toxapex does come out. It is now, this Iron Valiant is actually now in range of potentially being killed by a Scold here from this.
That is true. However, if Unsorted wants to guarantee a knockout here, chances are sacking Iron Valiant could be the play. As unless I'm wrong. Yeah, Iron Valiant, there is spikes on the field. And if memory serves, even if it does swap out, this Iron Valiant is pretty much gone.
The spikes were so it was 2 layers, and then they were cleared. The Ferrothorn came back in and then set 1 layer. 1 layer of spikes does not do 20%, so it should be able to live if it switches out now and comes back in later. But
let me check the actual information here. I do believe I think 1 layer does about 12.5%.
Iron Valiant should be, if it does want to switch out now, it should be safe. It should be safe to come in later. But what can it do against his Toxapex? You've already basically, it's probably not running Psycho Cut, as if it was, it would have.
Latios comes out.
Latios comes in, does get burned. It won't matter too much, as Latios is already specially invested. We know that much. The tick damage will be annoying. But it's not the end of the world. It's not the most. Some Scold burns can single-handedly win a game. This is probably not going to be one of those burns. It may well be that the tick damage is imperative for Beast-like, but we won't know until later on. At least from a quick glance, the burn does not. It's not too bad. There are worse things that could have been. Like the Valiant. This Toxapex will be threatened out.
The question remains though, what does this Latios go for? Obviously it would have a psychic move.
Calm Mind! Goes for the Calm Mind, expecting the switch out. Remember, this Latios does have Mystical Fire. Will be able to one-shot this Ferrothorn even without that Calm Mind. Question is, does Beast-like how did the players go here? Because it's like, I was gonna say, do they stay in, maybe expecting the Toxapex switch, but no, they just, both players just Ferrothorn stays in and the Mystical Fire comes up. Ferrothorn is dead. Latios does take a couple more ticks of burn damage.
Something I'm a little uncertain about at the current moment is what this Latios is running. Do we know if it's even running a psychic move like Luster Purge or Psyshock?
We know it's running Draco Meteor, Calm Mind, and Mystical Fire. I think that's all that's been revealed. I mean, it came out against the Toxapex. Surely it's running a Psychic type. Unless that was just a bluff. It's like thinking carefully here as to who they're going to switch in.
This is gonna be a tough choice to make for Beast. Like, what do you think they can even attempt to do in this situation? As I do think a lot of their Pokemon have been removed. And
Toxapex
it
does
comes to
come back in.
Pex.
I think they're bringing the Pex back in, knowing that only Draco Meteor and Mystical Fire have been revealed. Maybe they're hoping it's not using a
Here
Psychic
comes
type
the
move, but it
Luster
is.
Purge.
The Luster Purge does a huge amount, but just not enough to kill. Toxapex does go for the Haze, but does not come out unscathed. Now, what does the Latios do here? Does it go for another Calm Mind? It may threaten his Toxapex out. Does it Regenerator? It could switch out and bring it back up to about half health. Does it go for another Calm Mind? Or does it just double down
wrong,
and
but
go
is there
for
another option available? For all we know, this could be the last Pokemon left.
Does it go for the Calm Mind, or does it go for a damaging move and want to clean up Toxapex? Toxapex does
Zapdos
switch
is
out.
alive.
The Latios does go for the Calm Mind, expecting the switch out as the Zapdos comes in. Luster Purge will probably not be enough here, and Mystical Fire certainly won't be, but Draco Meteor very well might. Depending on the investment of this Zapdos, it might be faster, it might not, but either way, it's doing special damage as the Latios goes for the Luster Purge, does kill the Zapdos as the Volcarona comes in.
I think this is potentially where we watch as Latios. There's a lot of options
Meteor.
here.
It does kill the Volcarona, wanting to play it safe as the Toxapex comes back in. And Luster Purge should be enough to kill here. I think this Latios may just sweep from here.
While that's true, something to keep in mind.
Okay, game crash. The Latios just goes for the Calm Mind. Toxapex, it does Haze.
Potentially trying to expect a Recover to come out, I suspect.
Goes for the Luster Purge
comes out.
Toxapex barely clinging on to life.
But it doesn't quite matter at this point. The special defense has been dropped. And I think this is enough range.
Yep.
There we go.
As the Latios getting
another victory against Beast.
That's going to really hurt for Pokeslam. They really needed that victory. But that will be Unsorted's second victory in these set of 3 battles, and also their second victory overall. I do not believe they're making it into the qualifier. They're qualifying for the knockouts, unfortunately. But they have fought very well throughout this tournament, and especially in those last 3 matches. Now, due to it may feel a bit short of a stream, but that is our last match for now. And we do have more matches coming up later in the day.
The next group in, I want to say, what, an hour, 2 hours?
I can't remember. Check. Our next match will be between Pixelmon Go and Hexagon MC. It is going to be in 55 minutes. Some of the folks from Pixelmon Go are actually, well, one of them is. That will be in 55 minutes. The stream will be going offline for now. It will be coming back later. I'm not having it on idle for an hour. But for now, that is all the battles we have for you. Do come join us later for more fights. Although this has only been a very brief stream, I am Alba.
I'm Delta. I've been your commentator as always, and we'll see you all in a very brief while.